chairman except the last person here.
It's me. Great.
Yeah, I thought you were the chairman.
I don't want to be. Hey, Mark, we want to go ahead and get started?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If I got any information here. It'll work.
We don't do this enough to know how to do it, but that's partly why the attorney's sitting back there. He's gonna coach us on whether we did it right and then he's gonna coach us again in about a month on how to do it next time. But this Board of Adjustment hearing is for Eric Ornelas, and Mark is gonna present pretty much both sides of this. Why you should, why you shouldn't. Eric wasn't coming.
He's about 15 minutes.
Okay, he may miss his own hearing, but there's some parts of I know you guys were all provided with this earlier, but the Board of Adjustments has the power to interpret land use ordinance when the meaning of any word, phrase, or section is in, any action is in doubt. When there's a dispute between the appellant and the enforcing officer, that would be, there's not really a dispute here. There's a rule that we said what Mr. Ornelas wants to do doesn't comply, but he does have some circumstances that aren't common. So you can allow a variance. This is another, shall have the power to allow a variance for the terms of the ordinance when owing to a particular condition. A strict interpretation would work an unnecessary hardship, or in granting the variance, the general intent and purpose of the land use ordinance is preserved, meaning we don't discard the ordinance, but if he doesn't fit in, we can make adjustments maybe. Hear and decide appeals from any direct decision that an inspector or planning director has made and somebody doesn't feel it was fair, or allow a reduction of building site area and yard requirement when in its judgment, being the board, the shape of the building, the site, the topography, or the location of the existing buildings or other conditions make a strict compliance with the regulation impossible without practical difficulty or hardship. But in no case shall the intent and purpose of the ordinance be violated by any reduction of its own rules. And I just wanted to reiterate that this is not the rules don't apply and I want special favors thing. It's if this doesn't hurt anybody and it is hard for me to do it by the rules, then that's why you guys get to play in. Mark, if you want to just go ahead and start with his case and feel free to ask questions, and you're running the meeting and you guys are keeping your own records, and we're just here really for information. And then after both sides have been presented, we'll ask the public if they want to speak, and we'll go in that order if that works for you.
Can we, I mean, in all fairness, he's on his way, right?
He is, yeah.
Okay.
And if you'd like to wait, that's totally up to
Just, I would suggest, huh?
prefer to get moving.
Okay. All right, we'll just go ahead and move it. I
If,
kind of a little concerned that he ought to,
do you think that you could speak to it and leave and feel like you got your fair shake?
I would like to hear what you
Okay,
present,
okay. Let's go ahead and get started.
because I believe
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Board of Adjustments, for your time. My name is Mark Kavanaugh. I know I sent you guys all the emails. I'm a building inspector, plus the zoning enforcement officer for Graham County. Mr. Ornelas called us, and we went out to his property. And this is kind of what he's proposing, and that's why I thought this variance and the Board of Adjustments was the only solution to this matter, because we told him no, because it strictly states in our ordinance, a livable residence has to be 10 feet off your property. So this is a weird shaped property. So I'm gonna argue both ways, why he should have it and why he shouldn't have it.
Say that last part where you say that living residence has to be what?
Has to be 10, we have a 10-foot side setback. So if you look at the map, and I'm gonna turn around and just kind of try to speak into the microphone. If you look into the map, can you close that where it says parcel number, please? So Mr. Ornelas has, it's a pie-shaped area. It's going around a corner of Chuckwagon Loop. So you can see kind of the way that it's designed right now. So the garage to the left side, as we're looking, the long garage right below the box that I had made, that's actually attached to his main livable structure right now. And that's why we have a 10-foot side setback on that, because it's attached to the living structure here. So what he's wanting to do, obviously he has, the entire property is all the same, stuccoed, painted, very curb appealed, you know. So what he's wanting to do, he's wanting to put a 3-bay garage right here where this concrete slab is. So he wants to attach it to the current garage, but he wants to get closer to the fence, which is a 3-foot side setback, and he wants to keep everything on that concrete slab. So I told him, I said, well, if you attach it to the building, you have to have a 10-foot side setback, because that's what our ordinance states if it's attached to the main livable structure, which it currently is. So with speaking with Mr. Ornelas, this Connex box is gonna be removed, just so we would have access back there for emergency services, fire, et cetera. And he's wanting to get that 3-foot side setback to the wall. So in the packet, there are a couple of approval letters that were sent by Mr. Evans, which is the neighbor to the east, and then the neighbor...
West is the west.
So, sorry, the west. So Mr. Evans is to the west, and Quentin Kavanaugh is to the east. Those were the closest residents that sent in a letter for a favorable recommendation of this. I have spoke, Ms. Woodman is here, and I think she may or may not want to speak on this matter once we present the case. Mr. Taylor's here, he may or may not want to speak on this matter after we present the case. But I also spoke with Ms. Taylor on the phone about the variance and tried to explain the matter to the best of my ability. And so they may or may not want to speak, but they are here when we do a public call. So as far as the being attached livable, that's why you guys are here, because we denied the request. We told them we're not going to give them a permit. So now I'm going to argue the case why he should. Because of the pie-shaped infrastructure, I mean, obviously he has a lot of toys and stuff, treasures, you know, we'll call them treasures, that he wants to protect. So I do believe if he wasn't in a pie-shaped area that we could make this work and have the proper setbacks for this. but due to the circumstances with the pie shape, you know, the variance is definitely, would take place, and that's what we're needing your guys' assistance with today. So he could, if he had room, we could just pull that 20 feet away from the current garage and put the garage there also, but then that would mess up his driveway and access to that back corner to store some things.
When you say
So-
pull up 20 feet, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so if we were to move this shop 20 feet, then we're still coming into the issue with our side setbacks back here in this corner. So if he wasn't gonna attach it, it would have to be 20 feet away from the residence per our current fire code that we're in. So this is truly, I wouldn't say it's the best case scenario, but that's kind of what warrants the variance and this public meeting today. Do you guys have any questions for me?
The current garage right now has the 10-foot
It does, yep,
setback?
yeah. Yeah, so on the GIS, it's like 8.7, but it's truly the 10-foot right now. So
The long piece that you're attaching to has an 8.7 setback, you say?
well, that's the measurement, but it does have the 10-foot side setback from that wall, which is our current ordinance. So he's wanting to make that garage a little bit deeper just so he can park his vehicles in there. So- And the whole thing is he wants everything to match. So he doesn't want to just slap a steel building back there in the corner. He wants to do it stucco and have everything match the current aesthetics of his property.
What is, get up a point, it's easier for me.
I have a pointer here.
Here, God, you give me one. What is this?
So that currently isn't there. What's parked there right now is just vehicles. So
That's not a structure.
that's not a structure, correct? Yep. So and then this Connex box here will be removed.
What is the size of the garage there were no dimensions in our paperwork.
So the garage is going to be the same size as that concrete slab.
And what is that size?
Can you measure that for me real quick? And what he's requesting is that back wall will be 3 feet to the block wall.
My question is,
So-
how big is the garage?
Okay. So that's 35 feet going north and south, and then what about east and west?
And what is the depth of his existing garage that he has on there? Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's closer to 16, but
Okay.
that's what the overhangs is, getting at 18.
So he's wanting to go 9 feet wider.
Correct.
East side?
Yeah, they'll be entered from this. There's a gate right here,
Okay,
and then they'll drive in that way, so.
okay, yeah, a vehicle is
So-
much narrower than it is in length. Okay.
What's the distance from that little white building on the neighboring property, or, by the property line, over straight across?
So that white building is a Connex box also,
But
so
from there, at the property line, going straight across,
here,
no, onto his property, go over to his. right there, straight across, what's that distance over to the other fence, roughly? Yeah,
No, from here to here.
yeah, right there.
So it's right next to it. So, and I don't want to speak for Mr. and Mrs. Evans, but they said if that would be an issue, they could move that to the other side also.
Well,
So,
I'm wondering about turning it.
Right, and that also does propose another question. I'm glad you brought that up. So the current owners, I'm just trying to play both sides, you know, for everybody, not for or against, just to kind of present everything. So that does propose another concern, planning and zoning wise. Mr. and Mrs. Evans, they're the current owners. What happens when that property sells to a new owner? So we do know that there's a leach line right here and nothing can be built right here anyway. But we would probably want to put that in the deed too, that, hey, this was approved this year or denied. You know, if it's denied, we don't have to worry about it. But if it's approved, then we probably need to at least attach something to the deed for the new owners. So, but currently nothing can be built back there because it can't be built over the leach line. So,
Speaking of leach line, where is the leach line on that property? The one that we're talking about?
Mr. Ornalis's?
Yes.
I think Mr. Ornalis just walked in. Do you guys want to ask Mr. Ornalis questions?
Sure. Where is the leach line on your property?
Mr. Ornalis, if you could come up to the microphone, please. Come up to the mic. You have to speak into the microphone. Here's a pointer too.
So the new leach line has actually been drawn in. It comes off of this area right here. So there's like a 50-foot one that runs right here, and there's additional lines that are ran right here.
So do those leach lines go past that existing garage you have your motorhome garage?
No, sir. That was the old existing line. So when I did this addition that it got approved, I had to spend another $7,000 to put in additional lines. Okay. That way I could build on top of the line that was there. So we abandoned that line and we came in and it turned and went this way, and now all of the leach lines run right here.
And so they don't affect anything past that?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
And that should be in the file, the updated file with, I guess, what department handles that?
The health department.
Yeah, excuse me, I didn't know that. So the black line would be the line that was put in originally when I built the house.
So when you put vehicles in this new garage that you're wanting, what is the route that you would be taking on your property?
So what I'm trying to do is take and add on to the backside of this and then put the bays coming out this way, just so I can put my boat, my sand car, all of my toys that are now currently sitting outside of my front yard inside to protect them.
But what is the route that you would take to access from the street to that property?
Right down through these double gates right here, and then come in, and then it would go in right there.
Okay.
Because I can't pull anything in there big. You know what I mean?
Correct.
It's just too narrow. So it's just my side-by-side, my sand car. I'm restoring a 68 Camaro Super Sport. You know, I want a home for it before I even.
A question for planning or the building department. Is he going to be driving over the top of his leach line, and is that going to affect the performance of his leach line?
No, we have to stay. There was I think a 10 or 15 foot easement. We had to stay away from that wall.
For your leach line?
Yeah, for that purpose.
Okay.
So I guess ultimately, I mean, I don't know how far along you guys are in all of this. Ultimately, what I'm trying to do is add on to the back of my toy box, which is where my big toy hauler lives right now, but I got stuff in there currently. So the purpose for all of it is, I don't want to put up a giant monstrosity of a metal awning, right? So I would rather have something that's cosmetically appealing to everybody on my house rather than put up a big structure that can be built that's not permanent.
So you're saying it's going to be attached to your house, so it'll have the same roof color, same
Everything, yeah. I mean,
siding,
yeah.
whatever the finish is on the side of your house.
My house is 18 years old. It's probably one of the nicest houses in the neighborhood, bar none.
Okay.
And anybody that's been there can contest to that.
And what is the type of fence between you and your west side neighbors?
8816 block.
Okay, and do you know what the height is on it by chance?
I think it's 5 foot, probably,
5 foot.
would be my guess. So yeah, it would match the exact shop, the toy box, stucco. I mean, at the end of the day, it's gonna be, I can spend $7,000 on a metal awning, or I can spend $70,000 on a shop that's gonna match my toy box and be appealing, it's gonna be aesthetically appealing to everybody that lives in that neighborhood. So that's when I met Dustin and Mark, and they said, there is options. You do have options. You don't have to put up an eyesore. It's just going to take you a little bit of legwork and possibility, trying to have the committee to get it approved. So that's why I'm here, folks, today, is just to try to plead my case that I'm trying to build something nice, not nothing ugly. I'd rather spend the extra cash.
So the pad that exists now does not match with that west wall of the current garage? Or is it does it go one way or the other? Because it looks like on the map that pad is wider on the east side than it is on the west side.
So that pad is wider, but what it is, that's a concrete step down. It sits down 2.5 inches lower, so that channels the water up against that wall down the side of that entire shop. So it runs, that runs all the way down the length of that toy box and all the way out to the back. It sits down 2.5 inches lower. So it's like a guttered curb. So when the water runs in my backyard down the side of my toy box, that water goes onto the concrete, is tapered down probably an inch and a half, and then it drops down into a saddle of concrete that runs all the way down, runs down the back. So it controls all the water that runs in there.
Does the concrete pad go all the way up against the fence?
No, it's away probably, 2.5 feet, 2 feet, 2.5.
Okay.
Probably closer to 3, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it.
And you're gonna build to the edge of the concrete pad?
Just the pad that's already been engineered for that.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to answer anybody's questions.
So this pad has already been engineered to build on?
Yeah.
It's a foundation?
Yeah. Because originally we had done it to do an actual building or, to hold a big carport.
Has that been inspected? Was that inspected before pour?
I did not inspect that. That was before my time. But when the toy box got approved, that concrete was all inspected at that time.
That was all poured at the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah, that cost me $50,000 in flat work. Yeah, there was all of that was inspected when that was all built. That toy box cost me $77,000 to build, including moving the septic lines, tying in we actually had to rip off the backside of my entire house to attach it because I didn't want it to look like an addition.
So if that were inspected, was that part of a building permit at that time? Or how did that work?
Yeah, that was part of a building permit.
So there was a building permit already issued at one point?
Yeah, so
Okay, building permit for this, what we're specifically talking about?
Not for what we're talking about, the toy box, and the footings were inspected at that time for possible expansion later.
Like right now, I'm currently building a house up on Starfire, where Bill Kopenick used to live, that subdivision up there. And that same provision, we had done that. I'm doing an addition on the backside. If I go to add on to that house, there's already engineering in the footings, and I had all that inspected. That way, when I go to add on, all we gotta do is cut open the backside of the wall, slide in the beams, and away we go. I'm just trying to build something nice, not put up a carport that I can order that's gonna look ugly. So that's the reason for all of it, honestly.
Yeah, I guess I kind of want to go off of his question with the concrete slab. So you're confident that that slab will hold the structure that you want to build on?
Oh, yes.
And to the best of our knowledge, that was put in was sufficient. You know, my concern is that say at some point when you sell that property and then the new owner gets it, you know.
Oh yeah, everything at my house is overbuilt. I mean, this gentleman's been there, this gentleman's been there. I've spent a lot of money on that place too. So
Okay.
it's got 3x4 footers, double rebar. I mean, I built 16 on centers with 2x6s, quad plates on top. Like everything that I build to last. Over-engineered. There's nothing worse than having a bunch of stucco cracking and stuff that you're going to look at. That's terrible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Yes, sir.
So now, if we don't have any other questions for Mr. Ornelas, I'm going to open it up for the public to speak. The only thing I do ask, we're not speaking to Mr. Ornelas or to the public. We're addressing all of our questions either to Mr. McGoy or myself and the Board of Adjustments. Ms. Woodman, would you like to speak? And there's a pointer right there too.
My name's Cindy Woodman. I have a property at 1305 Central Avenue, but I also have a vacant lot that is located just south of the building, and that's it right there. There's no denying that Mr. Ornelas has a beautiful property. It is. But parked in front of that property, every time that I've driven by that to check my lot, there have been cat vehicles parked there. So it gives the drive-by person, the driver, the attitude that there's a business going on there. Now, granted, one vehicle is understandable, but when there's three, no. The variance allows for overbuilding the lot. I don't know what the laws are in the county, but in the city, that would be considered overbuilding the lot. I know that typically what I would consider is if, I don't know how to use this pointer, if this is supposed to be a 10-foot wide variance right here, then, and this is no longer here, then just build this pad out another 10 feet. If you want this building to look the same and be connected, then just build this pad out another 10 feet. Obviously, Mr. Ornelas has the money because he's pointed out to you time after time how much he's invested in this property and that he doesn't want it to be an eyesore. it's not my eyesore because I've already got an eyesore next to me. My in my paperwork, my mom and my daughter called that just north of the lot the monstrosity. I call it the ship of the desert. But I was talking with my daughter the other day, and she goes, "Oh, the monstrosity." And I was like, "Yeah," and it's like I told Mr. McGoy. I believe it was yesterday. My mom worked in real estate for 16 years. And when this subdivision, and it was a subdivision, there were ordinances that were made as part of that subdivision. This area was supposed to be only site-built homes. There is across the highway an area that is mobile homes. There is north of this area where mobile homes are allowed, but this area was supposed to be site-built homes. There has been a lot of money that has gone into people's homes in this neighborhood. Not just Mr. Analysis, but there are a lot of really nice homes in this neighborhood. As the county continues to grow, hopefully, there are nicer and nicer homes that are being built, and lots and homes are the biggest investment that anyone can make. I'm not going to go into how that politically stands, and there's no room for that. But there were restrictions at one time, and that was to protect the homeowner's investment. This doesn't match what is already built, because if you use the pad and it goes within 3 feet and the other building goes within 8.5 feet, then it's not going to match to the west. It will to the east, but it won't to the west. So why not build out to the east another 10 feet? You know, it's aesthetically not as good for the owner, but it preserves what the county has set as the standard. So I would say vote no on the variance, and variances do set precedents, whether it wants to be acknowledged or not. I think this pen has less.
You'll get a chance. Thank you. So we have one other paper up here. Mr. Taylor, would you like to speak, or? No more questions. Okay, thank you. Mr. Nallis, when you come up, please address the answers to those questions to the board and not to the public, please. Awesome. So that was the call to the public, and that's when you were asked to speak. Now the person on the agenda has an opportunity to address the Board of Adjustments one more time, and then after that, then we'll go to the vote.
Happy to answer you guys' questions you might have on the comment that was made.
So obviously you've got a really good plan going, and you've had this in place for a while. What are you looking at as options if you can do this?
Putting up just a metal, one of the metal, those, you know, those shed things that you buy that they advertise. It's like a giant cardboard, something that wouldn't be permanent, that could be attached to the slab itself.
Not an actual structure, just the old thing.
Yeah. Which at that point would turn into a giant eyesore. It's just, you know, We've all seen them next to people's houses. It serves a purpose. They park their RV underneath it. So to answer the question about the variance, that would put me in encroachment to the east side wall. So there's no happy medium there. Does that make sense? And also, as far as the cat vehicles and stuff beating out in front of my shop, I retired at the first of the year, and the vehicles that were there were company vehicles that were brought to me. Because there would be times that my truck, working up at the mine, my truck would go down and transport would bring me in another truck. So that'll never be there again, so I retired at the first of the year.
We talked about it just a little bit, but the distance between the property lines back by the back of the slab across.
Yes, sir.
What was that distance? I don't remember exactly.
So
Right there, straight across.
Straight across. So what that is, I don't know that exact distance.
All
but
the way to the other line.
Yeah.
Right there.
My best guess would probably be 35 feet, 37 feet. So what's currently next to the toy box right now is that's a Conex box that I want to get out of there and actually put behind my car wash. The reason that is even there is I had a lease on the property across the street, which she was talking about, and that was actually sold off at auction for back taxes. The gentleman who had it, I had all my stuff stored in there. He lost that. So I had to get a Conex box stuck in there and put next to my toy box. So I want to get that out of there before I did anything move. I just want to get everything cleaned up is what I'm trying to do. That gray thing that's in the backyard, that thing right there, that's my toy hauler. That's what's normally in my toy box. And the thing in the front is my other, so that's my toy hauler and that's my camp trailer. That's also being moved to behind my car wash. Shine Times Car Wash. So right now there's just, I got to get a gate put up and stuff down there and get that. I'm going to order one of those carports that go on top of the Conex boxes so I can store them up underneath so the sun doesn't eat them. So if you can now picture that gray thing's gone, the white thing's gone, the maroon thing's gone. Now we just have the addition coming off the back of the toy box with two bays sticking out that way towards the east.
Two or three?
Two or three, whatever. Obviously, I can fit on that to make it work. Which they don't. The doors don't have to be super wide because it's going to be a sand car in there, my boat, and ultimately my side by side. Which when you go to stack those up into something like the toy box end to end, because you don't got enough room to turn it, it takes up 10 times as much more room than it should if they were side by side in something.
Okay, so you don't have plans for this yet. You're just in the preliminary planning of this?
Yes, sir. And I'll pay for those to get, obviously if it gets approved, I would pay for those to get engineered.
Okay.
If you meet the 10-foot setbacks, how wide would that make this new addition?
The width of the pad, I don't know if we can put that on there, measure that, whatever.
That building, the current toy box is it 16 or 18 feet?
I think it's 18.
18 feet. So that would make, if that roof line was just
Continued
continued all the way out, that would be 18 feet. So by the length of the concrete slab.
I think in my head, I calculated it like a 30 by 40 is what I had pictured.
Say that again.
In my head, I was thinking it was like a 30 by 40, and I was pretty close. It was what, 34 or 36 was what that measurement was.
Are you saying 30 by 40 on that concrete pad?
Yeah, that's 31.7 by 26, but that's if you went all the way to the wall, but we're gonna hold off the wall that to where it's been engineered. So that space between, you know, is probably 32 to 36 inches, where the concrete slab, and then it ends, and then it drops through, and then comes in.
Comes into the fence?
Up against the wall,
The fence?
yeah. You can kind of see it, you can see where it's kind of like a gray, that gray strip that runs all the way through there. Because that got poured at a second phase of it when we did the rest of the flat work and sidewalks.
So that's a concrete gutter?
Yeah.
Okay.
That keeps any water from running into the neighbors, you know, eroding the fence, you know, all of that stuff. It just, so underneath that Connex, all the way through, that's all concrete.
So in actuality, where that line is, it's going straight across, that represents runs off your eaves or whatever, where that line goes across. You're saying that gutter's 2 or 3 feet past that, roughly?
Yeah.
The end of the slab?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's correct.
And so your slab is really 21 or 22?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Not 30 feet?
Yeah, exactly. And the reason I poured it that way is for erosion control, for the wall. I mean, we all know what the water does. It, you know, it never does it until it hits once or twice a year, and then it starts tearing stuff up, and you know what I mean? And I figured since I had all that flat work in there, might as well channel it and control it rather than it just running all over the place. So that took a bunch of extra work and time to pay for to have that done.
I got a question for Mark. With the additions that have already been made and the proposed addition, is the on-site retention requirements being met or looked at?
Currently, yes, everything's been looked at and approved. So. And again, that was before my time when this was built previously. So. But Steve was here.
No, I just wanted to ask a question that Cindy kind of asked, and I don't know if it got answered, but I know Mark did the calculations as to coverage of lot, and I'd like him to go over that.
Yeah, so regarding the lot coverage question, because I also noticed that too. So currently in the RSB zoning, we have a 50% lot coverage of roof coverage on a lot. Currently he has 0.16 lot coverage, and then with the addition, it would be an additional 0.02, which would bring the total to 0.18. And that doesn't even get close to the 50%. So right now the lot is actually 0.62. So he's within tolerance. So we're not asking for a variance on the lot coverage, just the side setback to the west.
Do these lots have designated retention areas for them? No on-site storage or?
So yeah, according to the county and the floodplain management, they're supposed to have on-lot retention on these. So, except the ones where there's an actual wash going through. They have to accept that water and also let it drain the natural flow that it was, so.
Which way is the drainage going on that lot?
So the drainage on this lot, everything is draining to that back
Back corner?
corner.
Aye.
Yeah, so. Anything else?
Yeah, a question on that drainage. How deep can the water, is there a relief for the drain, for the retention? If, you know, it just keeps raining and raining, and it fills that retention pond up, where does the water go when that pond is full?
I would have to let Eric Ornelas speak to that.
So that all tapers down to the back, and then it goes out to the backside of my fence line. There's an open channel that goes out that way.
And then where does that water flow from, once it leaves your property?
Into the alleyway, like
In the
everybody,
alley?
into the, like everybody else's. It wasn't well thought out when they built that back in the 70s. I mean, it just kind of, Harold and I are probably one of the only ones who actually, if you look behind Harold's house, which would be to the west of me right there, I allowed for drainage, he allowed for drainage. Everybody else built all the way up to their property line, which is not correct because there's power lines that run through there. And there should be an 8-foot easement on both sides, 8 foot from the north side and 8 foot from the south side, which would be towards us. And it's non-existent. So as far as compliance, him and I are probably the only ones, if you were to look at that as a pie, that actually complied with that.
But once it leaves that and gets in the alley, does it go west or does it go east?
It kind of just goes where it wants, depends on how much we get.
So there's not a natural slope
No.
on that alley one way or the other?
No. But most of my backyard there, there's grass area, there's gravel. I've never had it to where it's tried to back up into my backyard anywhere. It's just absorbed into
You've
the
got a
ground.
concrete slab already there, so you've got no percolation, no absorption of the material, of the water. You put a roof on it, I don't see any difference. I'm just saying.
Yeah, true. No. Yeah.
Currently right now,
Yeah.
if we had a rain or if you had the structure on there, it's not going to affect
How it's going to
how
channel.
much water, yes.
Exactly. So yeah, to reiterate what you're touching on. So yes, that pad would just depends on the
It
day.
runs off.
Yeah, it's going to run off. Yeah, it goes left or right. So it was going to be to where 50% would go to the right and 50% would go to the left, and the 50% that goes to the left is controlled.
Okay.
If you were to put a peak on that, so to speak, whatever that pitch is, 512, 612. My house is 612. Any more questions to the committee?
So with that difference in that back pad and your existing
Yes, sir.
deal, you just, actually your ridge peak could be over, or you would aesthetically,
Yeah, aesthetically,
There'd be a little difference back there.
it would have a jog that
Yeah,
probably
little
kicked
kick.
out about 32 inches, yeah. But as far as drainage, I control all that drainage in my backyard. Some of it runs into my trees. The other part it's all gravel. I put in a lot of AB. I hauled 52 truckloads of AB in that backyard. Cost me $14,000 to get all that engineered to where it's controlled.
I have no further questions at this time.
Do you have any questions?
as far as erosion and being in compliance with the county, I feel like I'm one of the few who's actually complied with driveways that meet the aprons, that, you know, I spent the money on that. And it's you know, this is the reason I'm here today, is I want to do it the right way and ask for your guys' permission.
Does the board have any other questions for Mr. Ornelas?
No.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. McGoy or the building department?
Can you just explain a little bit on what the 10-foot setback and why, where that comes from?
Well, the 10-foot setback comes from our ordinance, so, and that's why we're here, because the toy garage is attached to the livable main house. It now all of that roof structure is considered livable. So in any livable, our side setbacks are 10 on the sides, 20 from the front, and 25 from the rear. But with this wanting to be attached to the current garage, that's also attached to the house, that's why that's where our 10-foot setback comes into play. So, and I do know that's for the county. I do know the cities and towns are much smaller, but that's not the ordinances that we go by. So, and that was the whole reason for the variance, just because we couldn't. It exceeds the administrative adjustment that the director is allowed to do, and it's above my head what I can approve, because I just approve on setbacks. So, but we do have a couple approvals letters. We do have one opposition. We did have one question that I believe that we had answered for the other ones. We did mail out multiple letters to anyone that had those property lines touched within a 300-foot radius. And we, you know, we're able to have one speak publicly, one here, and then 2 approvals.
So talking about the neighbors and how this would affect them in the future, would reducing that or granting the variance limit what they could do rather than being 10-foot setback? Now, would they have to be 20 foot from that building? So it would increase their setback from the line?
No, that's a good question. But the answer, unless it was tied into the main house, that would be the only concern. But again, there's a leach line there currently where nothing can be built. So the leach lines have to be 10 feet away from the wall anyway. So nothing would be able to be built 10 feet unless they moved the leach line.
Yeah, I was gonna say one
so,
got moved.
I mean, leach lines can be moved, so I mean, also take that into consideration too. So,
If these were both unattached accessory buildings, what would the setback requirement be?
so if these were unattached, the setback requirement would be 20 feet from the livable structure.
Like,
Oh, the separation would be 5 feet. So
Separation between the 2 buildings or the side setback?
the side setback would be 5 feet
from the property line?
from the property line.
But so you're saying that that will not impact the neighbor's setback if they were to want to build a building in the, you know, somebody in the future wanted to build a building next to his?
They would just have to have a 5-foot setback from that block wall.
Or
to-
10 feet off of their property line is, I guess that's the question.
Well, so that's for livable. So, and that, again, that's why we're here today, because this whole roof is now considered livable, regardless whether it's an RV storage or not, because it's attached to the main structure, which is considered livable. That's where we have our 10-foot side setbacks. So if this was just a detached garage, then that side setback goes down to a 5-foot side setback.
His question is, if he was, you know, if he builds it would the neighbors have to be 20 feet? Is that what your question is?
No, they would only need to be 5 foot from their block wall.
5 foot or 10 foot, depending upon how it.
Unless it was added onto the house, that's where you get your 10-foot side setback for your livable structures, so. And again, that's why we're here today, is because of the current garage being attached to the building, and now it encompasses, we can't just call that garage an accessory dwelling. Now everything under roof is considered livable, and it has to meet the current 10-foot side setback. So.
And the purpose of these setbacks, what are the general purposes of the setbacks?
The general purposes for the setbacks is life and safety and fire break, so.
I have a question for Mr. Ornelas.
Come back up to the microphone, please.
If this thing was, this all in an if thing, what would, because you're actually dealing with the side of your building being tight to the setbacks, you'd be out of compliance if it's attached. But if it was detached by, what's the minimum that from the end of that building to the house is 20 feet out before you can build? Okay. Then that solved the question. I was thinking if it was the same roof line and you were able to build up to it.
Actually, I can give administrative adjustment of 20%, so it could be down to 16 feet, but it's still,
Okay.
it still burned half of his concrete pad.
I was looking at it in a sense with the pad, if
Yeah.
it could just be a different building right next to it and go on, but apparently you can't.
And when I did the original addition to the toy box to the house, they, at that time, and it's kind of coming back to bite me, they made me attach it.
Because you were so close to it.
So it now looking back,
Hindsight's 20/20, right?
man, every day, we all live in that world. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's the reason why we're here today. Had I known, I would have left 10 feet off that thing, kept it away from the house. I guess there's some new variances coming down the pipeline as well, so gonna change again.
And Director McGoy also does want me to bring up that there's a new casita bill that is coming into play, and all of our current setbacks are changing come January 2026. Obviously, those are not into effect yet. So.
Would those rulings have anything to do with this?
It would bring that side setback down to 6 feet, but still not the 3 that's being requested right now. So we would still have to be here. So.
Correct.
But again, those are not in our current ordinances, so we can't vote like they are today.
Can you see any adverse effect to the neighbors?
The 2 neighbors that wrote the approval letters, those are the only neighbors that it would adversely affect anyway, and they wrote approval letters, and that's the only thing I can go by.
And I'm thinking more in line of does it limit their property in any way that would affect them in the future that they're not thinking of as far as sellability, or someone in the future wanting to construct on that? And I think we've kind of answered it, but I'm asking, can you foresee any other negative consequences to this for the neighbors, the neighboring properties, not the neighbors themselves, but the neighboring properties?
I thought that about the Evans, if they sell to the next person, in order to adversely affect them, They would have to, well, in order to build over there, they would have to do the same thing Mr. Ornelas did and move their septic system.
Yeah,
Then at that point, yeah, it might adversely affect them, but if they if somebody were to buy that and intend to live in it as is, and most likely, there's quite a bit of distance between, I mean, if you add your house clear out there, you're building big. But the septic system is the limiting factor at this point.
but my question then is, how would that adversely affect them if they decided to move the septic leach line?
They would, if they tried to build livable space out there under our current rules, they would have to have 20-foot separation.
Okay,
After January, they would have to have 10. So
so if it were a guest house or attached to their house, it would need to be 20 feet away from where he's at,
20 feet from the, yeah,
from his building,
From his building.
or from his space.
So you're saying current ordinance, right, or future? So I know we kind of,
I know the future
So-
isn't in play right now, but
Right.
how does that change as well?
So-
Because I know the interpretation is you have 10 feet this side, 10 feet this side.
correct, well, that's actually going to go down to 5 feet from the property line. So then it would
Okay.
only be 10 feet from the two livable structures.
Okay,
So I mean, to answer your
it's gonna
question,
get-
which is a very good question, it would, if I understood your question right, it would adversely affect them 3 feet of their property line.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Did that answer?
Yeah, and that's a far-fetched scenario, but I do want to understand
Yeah.
the neighboring properties, and in my, I want to make sure those are protected.
And I just want to say that rule change is not if we change our ordinance. It's a state law that's already been signed and goes into effect January 1.
Okay.
So it's not whether it's going to happen or not, it's just when.
It's just,
I'll answer that after the meeting. So. Well, come on up if you're going to ask a question.
Question is, if there's only 3.5 feet of like cement that is a gutterway next to the fence line, but the structure is supposed to be 30 by 40, the math doesn't math. And even if,
It's not going to be a 30 by 40.
Can't be. Gotta be
On the
the
current
existing.
slab.
but if the current slab, it's just gonna jut out a little bit. And it seems to me that if the Connex, or the, whatever that gray structure is to the northeast, it just seems that if that's not parked there any further, then, I'm not gonna be aesthetically affected one way or the other, because that sits way far behind the home and behind the other home that's to the east, or west rather. But it's the principle of the matter. And I have an issue with principles. And it just seems to me that then if it's attached, and the toy hauler garage right now is attached to the home, that then there should be some inspection that what is added as a garage onto that empty pad should also be inspected for an opening, because it's considered part of the living space. Is that correct?
So when or if this gets approved, he is going to have to apply for a building permit. And at that point, as of right now, if he applied for a building permit, we're denying it. So if there's an approval today with the variance, then we would approve it. But yes, we are going to review the plans before we approve or deny it. But, and again, that's the reason for the variance public hearing today.
So why are we bothering with this? Because the variance shouldn't have any bearing if it's attached to the home and you need a building permit.
Well, that's why we're here. And that's a very good question. So the variance today is to allow for a 3-foot side setback to the west of the property line. That's the only variance that we're asking for today. So.
And that clears that drainage.
And that clears the drainage, yep, so. But yes, just to clarify, I know we've gone full circle in a couple different angles for and against, and but we do just want to do our due diligence to bring both sides to the table and give you guys all the knowledge that you need to make a decision today.
I think this was answered earlier, but if this was detached, the side setback would be 3, or would it be 5?
It would be 5, yeah.
So he's asking even 2 feet more than.
Correct, yeah, so. So at this time, I think we would just be looking for a motion for or against this variance. Well, yeah. We don't have a chairman yet. Oh, Mr. Jacobs. Oh, you're the chairman. So, sorry, I don't want to take your.
No, you can have
job
my
away.
button. You can have my thunder when it comes to this stuff. Okay, does anybody have any other questions? Apparently not. Anybody out here have any questions or concerns? So we'll make a motion to for or against the variance at 3 feet for the side setback for the back building, which is connected to the structure, which would be considered livable, correct?
Correct.
Real quick, minor detail, but if we approve 3 feet, do you still get 20% that you get to work with, or is it 3 feet?
No, what you guys vote on today is what we go by. There's no additional.
If this were unattached and we were talking about a 5-foot setback, I could go to 4 if this was not approved. But with it approved,
Right.
I don't have that
Okay,
administrative adjustment.
You don't have any flexibility with that, okay.
Just I'll add just another question to Mr. Ornelas. If it was 5 foot instead of 3, which I know your slab is flat and you know you'd be building on top of a flat slab for your garage, but it's called a living structure because it is attached to the house. It's not heated and cooled. In my business, it had to be heated and cooled to be considered living space. As a real estate appraiser, I know Cindy very well, if it was 5 foot, would it create a hardship on you?
Well, the footer's at 3
You'd
foot.
have to dig a footer, you know, you'd have to cut and dig a footer.
And I got pictures, I apologize, I was trying to find some, so if I can just use this, the elevated drainage gutter that's
Yeah.
there. So to build on that wall, now you have your drip tin and all your, you know,
Yeah,
everything that comes
yeah.
down there. So it would then allow water to run into the building because it's not lower.
But there's not if moving it over, you'd have to cut and dig a footer,
Yeah.
which you could raise that. You could stem it and clear that. I'm just giving you a option, that's all.
Yeah, that would be a logistical nightmare.
It would be, I know. So,
And
but,
I don't even think it structurally, to get somebody to sign off on it, probably not.
does that existing slab have footers around the outside?
Yeah.
Okay,
3 foot wide, 3 foot deep,
okay.
double mat.
Anybody opposed?
Somebody needs to
All
make-
in favor, say aye.
Somebody needs to make a motion.
Make a motion.
I make a motion to forward this with a
You make a motion for approval?
Second?
Yeah.
So we have a motion for approval. All those in favor of?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you for your time.
We got a motion this and motion that.
Yeah,
You second it, everybody approve?
I approve. Aye.
Motion, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, guys. If you're, well, you're going to get invited to a meeting the third Wednesday of next month. It's breakfast here, and possibly the county attorney will have a short presentation on
How to do that.
how to do this. But just so you know,